Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today. Hey everybody, I am here live today with Carissa. She is going to share so much with us today about our money mindset and removing blocks when it comes to charging for our services and, investing in ourselves and our businesses and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to let her take it away. So Carissa, why don't you just introduce yourself and let's kick off this conversation.
You got it. So hello there. My name is Carissa, and I help spiritual women who are meant for more with their financial freedom without sacrificing their soul. So I can tell you, I've spent the past 20 years in the financial industry. I have analyzed thousands upon thousands and probably upon even more thousands of individuals' financials over that time. And I can tell you that I have uncovered some of those amazing secrets that really pays off. And when I say really, really, like the difference here is there's a difference between what it looks like people are making and what people are actually making, like AKA I was looking at tax returns a lot. So what are they actually reporting to the IRS? And so analyzing all these tax returns and like who's actually claiming the stuff on their tax returns, who's actually doing wealth in a way that feels good, who's actually doing it in a way that like you're not having, I used to have the golden handcuffs is what we used to call it. So you're just making like tons and tons of income, but it didn't feel good inside. I didn't feel grounded. I didn't feel connected with my son. So during this time, I have created multiple streams of income. I have a beautiful real estate portfolio with lots of long-term rental properties. I also have the perk of a short-term rental property in Costa Rica that I do go visit often. And I can tell you one of the biggest things that I found, especially as we're talking about here, creating your money, creating your offer, working with income stacking and leverage and like all those beautiful things. The biggest thing that I have found is that ultimately we are assholes to our money, right? So like looking at it from the space of our money and like here we are trying to create this abundant life and society, and there's no heaviness in any of this because this was ingrained into us. Ultimately, we're just being such a-holes to our money. So we're trying to dominate our money. We're trying to squeeze every last penny out of our money. We're trying to do all these things to our money when in reality, really we're in partnership with our money. And I think of my money as my bestie, ultimately. So her and I, like, we have each other's back. Like, I'm not sitting around worried and making a plan for when she's escaping. And when I say escaping, you know what I mean? So when she's leaving, right? I have beautiful systems set up that like, oh my gosh, you're coming into my space and I'm doing something in which I love to do. And like, holy shit, somebody's going to pay me for that? Like, yes, 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 all day long. Like I'm in like divine receivership. So we'll talk about that space. And then from that divine receivership, when the money's coming in from the multiple streams of like, sometimes it's from my coaching business or sometimes it's from one of my real estate properties. Like it comes in and you're just like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she comes into a perfectly curated system. And a perfectly curated system means she knows exactly where she's going. So she's not being dumped into a bank account that's just like pure chaos and like, oh my God, I don't know like what's going on. And like, I don't want to go get the mail, like things like that. Instead, she's being dropped into a perfectly curated experience. I'm not trying to dominate her. I'm not trying to squeak every penny out of her. I'm in tune with her. And she also knows that I have a really big mission. So all of your individuals in your containers, they're on a big mission, and that mission to support themselves, to support their family, to be of service in some way. And so when your money knows you're on a mission and she knows that you have her back and you have this perfectly curated experience, she's going to go out into the world. And when you release her, she is going to have such an amplification effect, because a spiritual woman is amplifying the money consciousness. So that's the woman that, like, oh my gosh, if money could be run through you, so much money, you're going to amplify the wealth consciousness. So you have such a beautiful rippling effect on money. So like having a perfectly curated experience and really like feeling good and grounded in that space, money is then going to feel comfortable coming into your space. And when it leaves, it's going to have this ripple impact on everything it touches thereafter. So like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't you want more money? Not from the space of like greediness, because that's a thing, that's a block. You'll be seen as taking too much, right? Worthy, deserving. There's some things stacked in there. But here you are like, of course money should be hanging out with me. I'm amplifying money. So I'm actually doing a disservice to the universe by not making money. Right? That's way different than like, ooh, I don't know if I should be charging 9K. And yet, like, I'm of huge service and like you're pouring your heart and soul into it. That's way different. So I'm going to pause here. I just like flooded a ton of information, and let me know what I can start pulling apart for you and your audience.
Yeah, well, this is great. So when it comes to one thing I read somewhere, and I don't remember where I saw it, but it always stuck with me, is money loves a purpose. So in other
Mm.
words, it's like if you have money in your experience, but you don't know why you want to make a certain amount, or you don't know where you would put it if you made a certain amount, you would probably be more likely to create it and attract it if you have an actual reason or why or where you want it to
Yeah,
go or how you want to distribute it. And so I'm hearing you
100%.
say we want to have kind of like a plan for it. So tell me a little bit more
Yeah.
about, in specifically in our coaching business for the coaches listening,
Ooh, yes.
what are some, things they should be thinking about when it comes to their whys and charging and that kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Like what you just said, the image that just came into me, it's like wanting to have a baby and then like not realizing like, oh shit, I'm gonna take care of that thing for like, I say that thing, I'm a mom. I have to take care of my beautiful baby who's 16, God love him, but until he's 18. So it's not that I just wanted a baby. It's like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do with this sweet, beautiful child? And the same thing when you're calling in money, it's like, okay, so you're calling in 20K months. I love like working with like numbers, right? Like, so you're calling in this 20K month. Like, what are you going to do with it? And not what are you going to do with it from a heavier space, but like, where do you want to take it? So do you want to take it and then use it for luxurious vacations? Do you want to, remodel your house? Like, where is this money going to? And then are you able to use this money to then go out and also make more money too? I'm such a fan of income stacking. So I look at it as like this money's coming in, and let's say there's overflow. I love like working with the energy of overflow. Like money is coming in, it's just overflowing. What are you going to do with this beautiful overflow? Like, are you going to start building up a legacy plan? Are you going to start building out a trust? Are you going to start building out some type of community? So women, as we tend to really like, we're going to take the money, we're going to take the overflow after we take care of all the basic needs. And then normally we start giving it back in some way. And when I say give it back, I don't necessarily mean like anything big or grand. Giving it back could be just as much as like going and getting a massage or taking your family on a family vacation. Like I can't even tell you how many people haven't actually gone on a family vacation. I'm not saying we all want to be with our family. Like don't think I'm putting that in your space, but just an actual vacation, like actually spending time with your loved ones. So like if you had these 20K months, like what would you do with it? Like, oh my gosh, I would take like me and like my little, like all the siblings and all the things, and we would like go on a beautiful vacation. Like that's actually healing. That's actually like something different. And money's like, oh, you're going to do that with me? Then like, yeah, let's do it. Versus like, well, if it comes in, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. So it's like, you're like, you have to be ready for the next step behind it, because the universe isn't behind what you're behind. And if you're not behind what you're behind, then the universe can't get behind it. So like, declare it, own it. And when you declare it, own it, and you take that action of like, of course that money is coming in. And of course I'm going to go take my family on an amazing freaking vacation as soon as I hit that excess of like 40K in the bank account. And then after I do that, then I'll probably, like XYZ. For me, like, giving back is actually rental properties. I love owning rental properties, cash flow, yes. And also it's community building. It's also, I tend to house a lot of single women. So it's like giving back in that way. So as a business, when I bring in additional business money, it's like, ooh, that's actually a down payment for another rental property. Like, this is exciting because you're helping, like, right? So like, ooh, yes, that money coming in here can then go over here and help that thing. So it's just kind of like, how can you continue to be of service? And when money knows you're of service, and when you know that money's being amplified in this way of service, like, how could it not be attracted to you? Like, how could you not, like, how it's like magnetizes to you ultimately. But I feel like there's another little piece of your question here I could kind of dive into, and I think it was more related to pricing and offerings. Let me see if did I
right? Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, so a lot of times what I'll see is not being rooted in your let me see if I can say this a particular way so it lands. It's not being rooted in the ultimate results that you're giving. Right. So like, I'll just use myself as an example. I started off actually as an energy healer, right? Like an energy healer. I was attracting broken people. Like, I had a one-on-one practice for the longest time where I was, and I don't like, I'm saying with so much love for myself, just an energy healer. So here I was like doing all the financial industry things, and I'm like, oh, I'm playing with like energy healing. Right. And then I realized, I'm like, holy crap, I could do so much good in this world with, like, I was building financial freedom for myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm hitting all these icky things and like my worth and my value. And then once I realized that the biggest problem that I could solve for the people that I wanted to be in service to, the people I wanted to empower, right? Financial freedom in the right hands is like mind blowing. Like, so it's like, who do you want to like empower with this beautiful, like, golden results that you can give somebody? It's like, well, financial freedom. So it's like anchoring into the biggest results that you can give somebody. And then if your biggest results that you can give for somebody is like, wow, that is priceless, then you go, okay, well, now we just have to put a dollar amount on the price list. So it's really being grounded and rooted into the results. And when you're dropping into like, that's the results that I give, like, of course they're going to pay me $9,000 for this. They're getting this beautiful result all day long. It's worth $9,000, right? So it's like, I hope I'm explaining it or kind of feeling into it, right? So it's really grounded into your value and really grounded into the results that you can provide, not being attached to the results, because remember, you can't do the push-ups for them, but you create a beautiful container within your programs, within your coaching, which somebody can really do the thing. Whew, I just went off on a tangent. Let me know. What can I pull off from that?
Yeah, so I want to highlight something, because earlier you said, you get to a point where you're like, of course this money came in. Of course people want to work with me. Of course people want to pay XYZ dollars for this. And I think a lot of people, when they're first starting out, or, just somebody who they would describe themselves as, I'm just not naturally good at sales or whatever, hearing that, they're going to feel like it's a stretch for them to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to just start believing, of course I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. So how do they build up that belief in themselves to start, and not just themselves, but obviously their business, to not just jump to a positive affirmation that they don't necessarily, they're not buying it yet, but kind of bridge their way there? Any suggestions?
Absolutely. So when you make it about yourself, you're dead in the water. Right? All the things that I was just talking about, those weren't about myself. that was like, oh my gosh, of course I'm like, you want to pay me $9,000, but like ultimately you're making so much money. Like, of course you're going to have this beautiful result. Like, of course. So it's like when you make it about you, it's dead in the water. And the same thing, like the fear of success comes up so quick. So like, as I'm saying, like all of a sudden, like you get like a flood of people in your new offer, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're all here. What do I do with them? Right. That's almost kind of like, it's almost like I'm not quite ready yet for the success. Like I'm not quite there. So I actually work off from what I refer to as the 4%. And so that's skills, knowledge, and experience. So sorry, that was a lot of information. I'm going to back that up for just a second. So success is skills, knowledge, and experience. So you're working your way towards that ultimate goal, that ultimate thing. So it's like, what do you need? Like, what do you need is skills, experience, or any pieces of those that we can start to pull through so that you can really anchor into the understanding of who you are and what you bring to the table, but ultimately continuing to remind yourself that it is not about you. It's about being of service. So it's like of course you're going to be making like 20K months. And right now I don't quite feel there yet because I might have a little bit of a disconnect with a skill that I might need to like tune up. Maybe there's some experiences that I need to have, like what's that missing piece? And then only moving your human at a pace of 4%. So 4% is the space where you're in flow and you're not taking your whole energetic system and going into like full 5-alarm fire. I actually want you sitting in the space of like you're just hitting the edge of what you want and you're only moving beyond the edge at 4%. So it's only like you're not going like all of a sudden you're making $1 million or anything. Like energetically, you can't hold it, honestly. Like it's just, you cannot hold it. But when we move you at the space of like, I always think of like a tree growing, we just move you at a space of 4%. It feels lovely. It feels nice. And then you can energetically hold like, oh, okay, I can start to charge this price. And like, oh my gosh, nobody died. That's the biggest thing when I'm talking about people with pricing. All the time I'm here like, oh my gosh, I made this offer and it was 5K and like nobody yelled at me. You're like, nobody's going to yell at you for making a 5K offer, right? Like, but some people do get up like, how dare you charge for XYZ? And it's like, that's on them. That's not on you. They had a bad sales experience. This is about you being of service and how you being of service to something that brings so much value to them. So it's knowing that it's going to happen. Your success is absolutely inevitable. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And if you know your success is absolutely inevitable, you're just not in line with your 5K offers yet or whatever it might be, what's the skills, the knowledge, and the experience that you can start to pull through? Like, oh my gosh, of course they're going to pay me 5K because I now have this skill. I now have this knowledge. I now have this experience that's really going to help ground them around them into the results they're getting. I hope that makes sense if I pulled that through all the way.
I love I love the idea of how you made it tangible by saying, look at your skills, look at your knowledge, and look at, I forgot the other two, but experience. Yes. And I think that that's really helpful for people because the other thing too is sometimes, as you said, you have to start, pick a price, don't overthink it, and realize you didn't die and nobody died, as you said, and then keep going from there. And it's okay if you start off charging maybe what you long-term are not planning on charging. Maybe you plan on increasing it, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, meet yourself where you're at.
I love that, right? So it's like exactly. It start off in beta pricing. I always explain to my people, I'm in beta pricing, so don't you dare think that this is the price that we're sticking with. And it was very forthcoming. And the biggest thing is not like it's because you feel all the time like, well, I'm a fraud, right? Like I'm like I don't have the experience, and it's like, well, if you put yourself out there as like, I'm newer to this, like you're just raw and honest. Like I'm newer to the space. I've been doing this differently, or that like you're just being the most you that you can be. And you're like, and by the way, this is my beta pricing because right now I'm still working on my testimonials, or I'm still working on like whatever, like insert whatever you want to verbalize in that space. I'm still there. So right here, this is just the beta pricing. Like, Oh my gosh, that's even what I say about my pricing right now. I'm in beta for a 50K offer.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that I'm not going to charge right now what I charge, but I'm learning to energetically hold a 50K offer. Right. And I'm raw and honest about it. I'm just not there yet. Right. So it's like meeting yourself with where you're at, letting everybody know where you realistically are. You know, if you're in the beginning stages, that's okay. Like being raw and honest about it. And my pricings are set up for beta. And by the way, you're going to have so much results. You're going to be like so over the moon. You're going to write this amazing testimonial too. Just like fair warning. I was like, fair warning. You're going to be, by the time we're done, this amazing testimonial, and life-changing is going to be there. I always tell people, I'm like, you're going to be using the word life-changing in your testimonial. But like you're planting that seed, like I'm starting out, I'm in beta, I'm giving you a life-changing transformation. It just happens to be the smaller dollar amount right now because I'm building out my skills, my knowledge, my experience, and becoming energetically attuned and aligned to receivership. And then you go out and you can start receiving a little bit more, realizing it's safe to make offers. It's safe to charge. It's safe to understand your worth and your value. And it's safe to do it in a way in which allows your schedule so much time for self-care. Like if I don't get my CrossFit in, my yoga in, I'm hyper, like I need all my things. If I don't get it in, you're not getting the best me. And if you want to go make tons of money, you're going to want the best me coaching you. And the best me comes with a big price tag. And that also includes a lot of room in my schedule for all the things that I need to be the most amazing, awesome, insert whatever when that is needed. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of wrapping it up, where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about all of this?
Absolutely. So I did put my website up there. So if you hop over to Rich Bitch Freedom, the only thing that you can do on my website, this is fun, is you can only get my ebook. It's a free ebook and it is for spiritual women. So this is how spiritual women do financial freedom. We do financial freedom different than the masculine. So we work with the energy of the feminine, the energy of the egg. We do not do the sperm crazy things. We work with the energies inside of us. So come over there, come check me out on my website. I have a Facebook group as well too. So drop in and start there with a free ebook, and then we will connect as we are supposed to.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for sharing some tips with our audience. And I'm sure that it'll be helpful for those who want to elevate their mindset around money and wealth and abundance and all that good stuff.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for having me. I can't wait to tune in again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.